I'm going to pause recording. Wonderful. And then, great. And then, yes, as I mentioned earlier, before folks had kind of come on here, we are trying to kind of get through our agenda a little efficiently today to make sure that nothing's left on the table for December, to make sure that we're effective in our communications and that we're going ahead. And so as a reminder, we don't have a meeting scheduled for December, but there are some dates in December I'll get to when we get to the end of this. So let me start sharing, and then Brian, I'll turn it over to you to lead us. Let me just make sure this is in presentation mode. Great. And as always, as is required in all electronic things, can everybody see that?
This is Michaela. I can see it, Corey. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Brian, when you are ready, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Corey. Brian B., co-chair of this group. This is the IDEAS Advisory Council for November 26, 2024. Are we going to do introductions? If so, would you forward our slide? Or is that what I'm doing? Am I just introducing myself right now?
We're going to go through the agenda.
We're going to go through the agenda.
So yeah,
right.
but
Thank you.
One thing before we do that, Brian, if you would just like to call the meeting to order, that's all I really want you to do there, is just saying we're starting really pretty much.
Thank you. 105 IDEAS Advisory Council calling this meeting to order.
Great. Yep. And I'll just go over this stuff real quick. As always, we go through our agenda and then we kind of talk about, oh, I'm going to skip off this one. I missed a slide in updating it. So our agenda today is we are going to start with introductions, and then we are going to go on into updates, as we always do. So council members will be invited to update things that they know of. And then I will also give a few small updates on things here and there. And then we'll have updates from our CAC member, who is Michelle Dumais. Kisley Blue is invited to help her if she's here today as well, and give updates from our friends over at Rocky Mountain Human Services. After that, we will then move on into talking about officer elections, which will take place in January. And I'm just going to really quickly kind of go through the process that we take for that and invite council members to give me a heads up as to who might be interested, for the sole reason of just preparing for January's meeting. Then after break, we'll have a follow-up from our friends over at Bayard with Erica Hostetler, who will follow up from last month's meeting. And I will also have some updates on recruitment with an invitation for council members to be more involved in this year's planned recruitment. After that, we'll just talk about some dates coming up in December for some fun activities that I'm hoping some of council members will be able to join me at. We'll also have a chance to say thank you to a few council members who are leaving this year, Lindsay and Beth. And then we will be all done and everybody can go and enjoy their Thanksgiving weeks. So let's start here with introductions.
Am I going first because I'm A?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Alexa, go ahead.
No problem. Hello, this is Alexa Gagne speaking. I am a new council member, and I am a female. I have dark brown hair. I'm wearing a gray t-shirt, and I have a 2-year-old, well, 2.5, almost 3-year-old daughter who has Down syndrome, and I'm very pleased to be with you all today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Alexa. I'm going to keep moving through and I'll do my best to kind of keep an eye on the participants list to see who is here and who's not. But I don't see Beth joined right now. So I'll skip down to Brian.
Hello, party people. Brian B., autistic artist advocate. I work at JFK Partners over at the School of Medicine for the University of Colorado. And I'm a middle-aged white guy zooming in from home background. I've got hair that's migrated from the top of my head to the front of my face. I don't know what that's about, but glad to be here. And I'm a co-chair and a voting member. Pass.
Great, thank you. Let me go and look and see if I can recognize the next in the list, but if we can have perhaps Jessica go next. Oh, hi, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I am white. I have, I guess, honey brown hair, and I'm sitting on a flat couch with the blankets behind me and my dog, my white terrier. Thank you.
Jessica,
Lindsay, would
floating hearts for the dog intro.
Lindsay, you're welcome to go ahead.
I think Michelle's here too. I want to go down the list.
Okay. Michelle can go ahead then. Whoever would like to go.
Did the camera start? Can you see me? Perfect. So I'm Michelle Dumais, and I am both an IDEAS member and the CAC liaison. I am flying into the house after being out in the street. So today I come to you with hot pink glasses on, African American female, brown skinned, and gray scarf, gray shirt. And I'm coming from my home office. The reason I'm serving is because I'm the mother of a daughter that has complex medical needs and is intellectually different and impaired. And so just happy to serve and happy to see everyone, especially our new members. Hey, new members. Should I choose?
I think
Oh.
I'm the only one left.
Okay, friend.
So my name is Lindsay and I'm a co-chair on the council. I'm a middle-aged woman, pronouns she, her. I've got long black hair and like a red sweater on. And I work with the Aging and Disability Resource Center. I think that's it as far as council members. I'll pass back to Corey.
Yeah, we do have Kisley. If Kisley would like to introduce herself as a non-voting member, then I'll take my turn.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kisley Blue. I am the Mill Levy program manager at Rocky Mountain Human Services. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And today I'm wearing black. I'm in my home office and I have my hair in a ponytail. And I am a non-voting member like Corey mentioned. And thanks. I'll hand it back over to Corey.
Thanks everybody for introducing yourselves. This is Corey Boyle speaking. I am a white male presenting person with dark square rimmed glasses, a little bit of a darker stubble on the lower side of my face, two weirdly large headphones across my ears, sitting with a brown background and a sunflower kilt behind me, coming to you from Nashville here. Thank you all for joining us. I am the final non-voting member. I am a DHS staff liaison for the IDEAS Advisory Council. I am a IDEAS program administrator, and I help the council facilitate its meetings and agendas. So before we get into our formal things, our mission is to partner with the community to manage local taxpayer dollars dedicated for Denver residents with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as developmental delay. Our vision is to strive to make Denver an inclusive community where people with IDD feel welcomed, valued, and empowered to live the lives they envision for themselves. And this council, which you are all attending today, is comprised of Denver residents with lived experience with IDD. They meet monthly to discuss all sorts of topics relevant to Denver residents with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as developmental delay. Using community feedback, individual knowledge, and expert presentations, the council provides recommendations to Denver Human Services about the best way to prioritize funds and programs. Some expectations and just ground level setting for everybody here is please make sure to be respectful of everybody that's attending the meeting today. Please mute yourself, raise your hand, and unmute to speak. Introduce yourself when you speak, and this way those who may not be able to see you can still know who is speaking. Do your best to stay on topic according to our agendas. All meetings are public and recorded. Chats are also posted publicly as well. And so at the beginning of this meeting, I mentioned to everybody that this is recorded. Please don't put any private information into the chat or say any private information that you wouldn't want to be relayed publicly. Votes will happen in the chat. So council members, panelists, please remember to set your chat to everyone before chatting. I will copy and paste people's chats to make sure that those are put out so everybody can see them. But the only way our attendees will be able to see it is if you select everyone first, and they need to be able to see that for votes. Please always remain safe during meetings. If you have to take this call while you're driving or anything like that, please go ahead and mute yourself. Go ahead and turn your camera off. Even leave the meeting if you need to, so that you can get to a safe location first before jumping on. It's okay to leave and come back if you need to. We don't need anybody violating any laws or putting themselves in an unsafe position just to attend. Always respect and honor the Denver Code of Ethics. We do our best to follow Robert's Rule of Order here. We do our best to make sure all public business is conducted within these meetings, and then we post these publicly, all with trying to promote transparency and connection to our community while also adhering to the Denver Code of Ethics and all the policies and procedures that entails. And last but never least, have fun. Yeah, it's a lot to get through always during these, but by all means, emulate our fellow Brian there and make it a good time. Okay, first order of business is meeting minutes. I'll turn it over to the chairs.
So we've got the October 29th meeting minutes. If everyone had a chance to review those, if you didn't, you have any questions, feel free to let us know. If you have any changes that need to be made, let us know now. Otherwise, I will put that out for a motion to approve. A motion to approve from Brian.
Can I just add thank you to our note takers? That was some of the simplest notes I've seen. Very accessible, very doable. That's a growth point, I feel, for this council. And same thing with the agenda today. Bravo.
We're getting the doubling of comments. If everyone can make sure that they have their chat set to everyone, then that'll help so we don't get everything kind of duplicated in the main chat. But I've got an abstain from Michelle. I'll go ahead and second the motion to approve the meeting minutes, and everyone who is voting, please put yes or no in the chat. And that's the chat that has everyone. To abstain. Good. Good numbers. Right, so we've got 3 yes, 2 abstain, so that motion passes. We can move on to council updates, council member updates. And we can hear from Michelle.
Uh,
Oh,
sorry, I
okay.
see Michaela has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
So sorry to interrupt. Lindsay, this is Michaela, IDEAS Program Manager. Real quick, just wanted to note that looks like we have someone joining the meeting by phone. If this is a member of the advisory council, would you please shoot a quick email to ideas@denvergov.org to let us know if you're a member of the advisory council, so that we can note your attendance. Again, that's IDDEAS@denvergov.org, so that we can note your attendance if the participant joining in by phone call is an advisory council member. Thanks so much. Now kick it back over to you, Lindsay and Corey.
Okay, I was just gonna move into the council and partner updates, and if we wanted to hear from Michelle about the RMHS meeting.
So this is Michelle, and I just have a question before I begin a process. Do we need to wait until it's confirmed that that person that is joining by phone is a member?
With the request to the only way that we can really determine, we don't want to allow them to talk just in case they're not, and I can always explain more on that, but
Correct. Do you want me to wait until you have a confirmation?
No, go right ahead. We can move ahead, and
Okay.
our tech team, the crack team that they are, will get that person in if they are a council member.
Okay, and I see Lynn giving the thumbs up. Okay, so again, this is Michelle Dumais, and I'm going to give an update about the CAC, and then my far more capable Kisley will fill in any gaps, but the two things that are of great importance to share, being cognizant of time, is that the CAC met and we were joined by 6 new members. Yay! And our 6 new members, Rebecca, Alfredo Tinsley, Jennifer, Amberly, joined us for the first time. We did have a 7th member. That gentleman decided that he would no longer be in service with us, but nonetheless, we managed to convince 6 people to join this ride, and so I can just tell you we are so stoked. The other important thing that we began was and we met in person. And that was really cool because we don't often meet in person. And some people chose to dress up. And so that was really fun. And we had delicious goodies uh, from Abby, so Grinstead. So that was wonderful. To the work that we did, we began the process, as we know that we have community initiative grants, that it's again time to begin that process. So we talked a little bit about how that happens, what we do, and Kisley is, I'm sure, going to circle around and complete this circle about that. But nonetheless, on December the 3rd, we will begin the process of going through the grants, reviewing them, to come back to what we are going to approve, and so we talked about beginning that process, which we will begin next week. So Kisley, is there anything about that process that I poorly left out that you can chime in with?
Hi, everybody. This is Kisley Blue, Program Manager here at the Mill Levy Program at Rocky Mountain Human Services. And no, Michelle, you did a great job. I really don't have much to add except for a little bit of an update. We have moved our upcoming CAC meeting from December 3rd to December 17th because we received 43 proposals. And in my history of being at Mill Levy, that's the most volume we've received ever. And so in order to just give our CAC members enough time to review those proposals and to offer recommendations on how we should move forward, we do want to extend that time out a little bit. So we are still on track to be able to make a decision by the end of the year. So that's the only thing I wanted to add, but thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. This is Michelle Dumais again. Thank you, Kisley. And that's all for announcements because we're going to hear from Bayed a little bit and Erica. I'm sure she's going to talk about a little bit about the neuro-inclusive housing summit that happened. But that's all the information that we have fit to print.
Thank you, Michelle. Do we have any other council member updates? Brian?
Brian B, Corey, bounce this one off of you. Is this the appropriate place to talk about the unofficial fun gathering on the 17th, or do we have a different place in the agenda for that?
So I actually had it in the forecasting part and the planning next meeting part, just because it's an upcoming date. And I do want to correct, I made a typo, and I'll send out a correction email. It's December 14th that we're planning on right now, not December 30th. So December 14th for that. But just so that people aren't kept in the dark about what we're talking about. On December 14th, we're going to have an in-person get-together at Brewability starting at 1, fully voluntary, no public business conducted. So come one, come all, bring your friends, bring your family, come meet your council members, come say goodbye to Lindsay and Beth, and have some good food and drink at a happening spot.
Okay, well, if there are no other updates, that's it
I
for
have
me.
one. I have a
Okay.
few actually. Yeah, but I wanted to the council members have their updates first. So you've probably seen the site already. One update I have for the council is that we do have 2 members who we value so wonderfully who will be ending their terms, Beth Bevilacqua and Lindsay Westmiller. We thank you both so much for all of your years of effort and service to your community to help elevate the voices of Denver residents with IDD, to advocate for them. So if we could just get thank yous from the council and shows of appreciation, especially in this week of gratitude and reflection, I think that we can all reflect on how much these folks have really contributed to their community and contributed to this council. So thank you both so much. And I don't have anything to show for you today, but you will be receiving other more tangible modes of thanks later on too. So just be on the lookout for that.
Thank you so much. All right.
That I had another one fully unrelated to that. I'm so sorry to keep taking the mic.
No,
but,
I didn't know if you, I know you said you had a couple of things.
Yeah. I just want to give folks a chance to kind of make sure they had a chance to say thank you and everything like that before saying something else. But just an update on Voices. The Voices applications have closed. We've received our applications for that, and we're in the process of reviewing those now, and those awardees will come out soon. Can't say much more than that about it, but just giving an update since last time. Those applications are all set, and we're just in the throes of getting that good to go. And a lot of great proposals have come in so far. I'm very excited to potentially award some grant monies to them. That's a great question, Michelle, and I don't know, and right now, I think for just because we are straight up in the middle of the review process, I don't think that I want to say much more than we've received a good amount, a lot of proposals, and I'll hold on to that. And just so everybody knows, Michelle Dumais and Asked in the chat, is it permitted to speak to the number of proposals? But we are excited with the number we got. We're very happy with the response that we got. Okay, and I'll take it from here, if that's okay, Lindsay. So next on the agenda is we just have just a little bit of review about officer elections. So officer elections will take place in January. I did look into the typical process as to how this occurs with regards to council members leaving. And so for Beth and Lindsay, it just seemed like it made sense. It's kind of out there. A lot of different committees do a lot of different things, but it kind of made sense to have all current council members vote for their current chairs and things like that, just based on what other councils and committees I've seen do. And so we'll be doing this in January, formal votes and everything like that. And so I just wanted to review very quickly, high level today, what this process looks like. So we have 2 co-chairs on our council. Right now, those spots are filled by Brian and Lindsay, who do a great job at facilitating our meetings. These are on the screen right now are the 5 duties, so to speak, that are listed in our bylaws for these co-chairs. Co-chairs will preside at meetings of the council, represent the council in their capacities as officers of the council, facilitate consensus building activities around topics central to the purpose of the council, ensure that the members of the council, in collaboration with Denver Human Services, are engaging the community to solicit feedback on a regular basis, and fully participate in planning activities with DHS staff liaison as requested. Our co-chairs can be renominated and elected by the council at the end of their terms. So what all that means is that chairs are here to help facilitate the meetings and help get the council to where it needs to go from point A to B in a very structured, accessible, and organized way. Lindsay and Brian, I think, both do a wonderful, wonderful job of that. And I would definitely invite them to speak more on their roles as chairs if they would like to now. Sorry to put you on the spot. But that's just an open offer. You don't have to. I can say more. But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Brian B, like be who you are. I came here a couple of years ago when I registered for this today on the Zoom. Said, how did you find out about this? I'm like, I forgot. That was so long ago. But it's a cool playground, man. These are my people. I was reticent a year ago to step up and say, yeah, I'll lead this council. In fact, my appeal speech was like, I'm sure you want somebody that reads emails more thoroughly than I do and that answers questions and surveys more than me. And council was like, you do it, dude. I was like, let's go. So I know that many of you fellow community leaders, Lindsay and I and many others reviewed your applications, the new ones. You have strong leadership skills. Please be willing to step forward. Do it imperfectly. If you're here to show up perfect, I don't know, maybe there's a book you can write and the rest of us want to see what that's about, but imperfect leadership is very much welcome and embraced. Thank you for embracing me. Please be willing to shine. That's why you're here. There's a few things to be done, as Corey mentioned, facilitating and co-facilitating a consensus for this community to get that back to Denver Human Services. Thank you, Denver Human Services. It's been a privilege. It's been a gas pass.
Lindsay, did you want to add anything here?
I don't know that I have like just statements off the top of my head. I think I would be more curious if anyone had questions. If we have a moment for that. If anyone, well, I know that we also are missing a number of people, but if anyone, of course, that's here is interested or has questions for Brian and I or Michelle about the CAC position as well, feel free to chime in. Brian?
So just to repeat, this is an appeal. Would you like to help lead this council? Lindsay's leaving. I've been doing it for a year. This is your chance to speak up. You can type something in the chat. You can email Corey. You can raise your hand, unmute, and talk to us. We'd like to hear from you. Pass. Michelle, please.
I was just going to say, this is Michelle Dumais. I was just going to say about the slide that's on the screen now, which says what the Community Advisory Council member or the CAC member does is basically you share between the two councils information that's happening in both of them. So it's a beautiful sort of ebb and flow. You attend both meetings and you just share what the other one is currently working on or what they accomplished or what they're seeking to accomplish. And it's a beautiful way of being balanced. And so those are a bunch of words there to say that it's just a beautiful way to share between the two councils.
This is Corey speaking. I can't raise my hand while I screen share, just so you all know. So I have to jump in. Sorry about that. But thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Brian and Lindsay. Yeah, so just to boil that down, we've got these 3 officer positions that do a few different things. And if you have any more questions on those, you're welcome to ask. Shoot me an email to see what those are. And if you're interested in any of them, you can also shoot me an email. That helps me kind of get that together so that when it comes January, I have that ahead of time and we can just get right on into it. But let me get into what we're going to do in terms of process. And so there's a lot of text on this slide right now, which I don't usually like to do, but I wanted to make sure that this was clear and able to be referred to somewhere. So voting is going to occur in January. Our elections do have to be public, recorded, and documented. We try to do that for transparency, and we try to make sure that that is known to our audience, who's doing what, and how that's all going. For each position, I'm going to go in order. We're going to take it one at a time. So I'm going to start with, okay, for our first co-chair, are there any nominations? You can nominate yourself or anybody else on the council. If you receive a nomination and you're not interested or you just can't fulfill those duties, you're welcome to deny it. So it's okay to throw a name in the hat and then have somebody kind of say, do a little back and forth and say, sorry, thank you, flattered that you would nominate me, but I can't accept, I can't fulfill that duty at this time. And you don't have to give specific reasons. But that is, chat's going off right now. But so that is the general process. We go through, we get the nominations. I record those nominations in the order that I take them. So as an example, let's say Brian nominates Michelle for a co-chair position, and then Alexa nominates Jessica for a co-chair position. I will have written Michelle, then Jessica. We will then move to voting. Once nominations are received, we go to voting, and then council members are expected to vote for only one person for that position. We'll reset the votes for every new position. So if you voted for one person for one co-chair, they didn't get it, you can vote for that person again for the next co-chair as long as that nomination has been taken again. That's fine, but during our singular votes, you can only vote for one person. Please don't double vote because that makes it very hard to try to break a tie and things like that. So, sorry, I'm still reading the chat. But yeah, so I'll call for yes or no votes. I will simply say, if using that example, if Michelle is that first name, I'll simply say, call for votes for co-chair for Michelle Dumais. And then in the chat, we will see yeses, nos, or abstains. I will record those. And as soon as we get a majority, we got it. And we can move right on. So if Michelle receives more than 50% of votes right then and there, even though we haven't voted for Jessica yet, that's okay. We can end it there. Michelle is elected as co-chair. We can then move on again, and somebody can renominate Jessica for that second co-chair position. Remember, there are 2 co-chair positions. Then we do the same for our CAC member. Okay. So this is why it also helps to get that information beforehand, so that if somebody wants to make a nomination, you kind of know who might be interested. So please do that if you can. Once all positions are filled, the people who are elected are expected to fulfill their responsibilities at the next meeting. So I'll meet with you to make sure that you can, that you have all the tools that you need in your tool belt to get those done. And I invite anybody who was in the role beforehand to kind of also help onboard. So Brian, I know you were interested in helping the next co-chair kind of ease into that spot and get good. So we'll do that. We'll make sure that you're set. For the rest of that meeting, we'll probably just have an interim chair and we'll just get through it. And then in February, we'll have our new chairs. We'll have our new CAC member. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. I wanted to make sure that was prepared. Does anybody have questions about process for voting a nomination for any of our officer positions? Go ahead.
I want to echo something Corey said. So if you offer yourself, there's support. Michaela, Lynn, past co-chairs, yeah, be willing to jump in and swim, and we've got other swimmers. Pass. And here's one. Sorry, I'm coming back, Brian B. Here's one specific example. We do this meeting on the last Tuesday of the month. It might stay that way. It may not. And laughing about the chat. And Corey and Michaela and the co-chairs tend to meet the week before. So you get to have preparation meetings. Pass.
This is Lindsay. Yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind as well, is just being able to also meet that additional time the week in advance to prepare for the meeting. So that's usually the main extra time commitment. Also, I was just wondering, Corey, are you planning to email like this slide and info separately to people?
Yes, I didn't get this slide deck out ahead of time, and I apologize for that. But I do plan to take this actual information and maybe I'll boil it down, but send this specific information to people so that they're ready ahead of time.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, just the election info, like after the meeting, and then people, if they have questions, Brian and I are, available too, because I know we're missing 4 people, so we only have, 2 people not in these roles right now that are here. So hopefully we can kind of create that opportunity as well in this like interim period for people to, connect if they have questions about that process.
Yeah, I'll gladly make sure that everybody has this information. And so I didn't want to take too much time out of people's days today to go over it, because you'll get it again. And anybody is welcome to hit me up with feedback or questions, as always. So if you need any more information about either voting or a member officer position, please let me know. If you're at all interested, but you're just not sure, just shoot me an email, be like, what's a CAC member do? When does the CAC meet? all that kind of stuff. And we have a lot of friends that are over there, so you'll be in good hands if you're looking into doing that CAC work. So yeah, go ahead, Michaela.
Yeah, sorry, this is Michaela again. Lindsay, Brian, and Corey, I just wanted to let you know that we've had a council member join in. Chris Patton, welcome. I know that you're on as an attendee currently. It looks like we might be having a little bit of trouble getting you moved over to a panelist. If you do want to join as a panelist, in case you have any questions about any of the officer duties or want to engage in that conversation, if you can either raise your hand through the Zoom function, or Corey, do you want to pop on and see you're on mute? So
Yep.
if you have any other thoughts.
Yeah. Oh. He's now a panelist. So Chris, you are now a panelist. Yeah. So just because it took we had a little bit of technical issues there. Chris, if you wanted to offer any kind of questions or insight about any of the members or the election process, why don't we give you a minute or two to have that. If you're good though, you're good.
Hey, Chris, Brian B, welcome in. And there's a lot of other folks in the chat saying, hey, hey. And welcome the gentleman helping here with Chris.
Hi guys and ladies.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I'm not sure who this is for. Let's start with for Corey. I feel like I might want to say a few words about what I've been doing at Advisory Council, and maybe Lindsay would like to say a few words about that as well. Is that today? Is that now? Or is that another good time? Pat?
I think now could be a good time. I don't mean to be in any kind of way harsh, but if just for time's sake, if we can make sure that to keep it to a succinct level, that'd be good. Yeah, don't shorten what you're saying, but just we want to get to our next agenda items too. So, but you're welcome to mention like what you've been doing as chair and stuff like that. I think that'd be a good to note for people now and stuff.
Right on. Lindsay, would you like me to say some things or would you like to go first?
I see, like, I'll go with Jordan's suggestion. If there's anything, I can always touch base with people in December. So go ahead. We've got like 4 minutes.
Brian, I'm so sorry. You are muted.
Well, I'm
Are
over
you
here
talking?
gesturing, I'm talking about, thank you, Corey, appreciate your help. Brian B. When I first came here, and I was saying, where are the other people with IDD at this council? And I didn't see the answer to that question. So the default answer became, they're not here. There were parents here, there were advocates here, there were professionals here. Where's the end user? And so I said to myself, well, that needs to change. And I didn't do that as a co-chair, I just did that as a member. And you know what? It took several years, but you all and previous IDEAS council members said, yeah, let's do that. And onboarding people is one thing, but there's a lot still to be done to support folks to be meaningfully involved. I commended earlier that our minute taking was real brief and plain. Same thing with our agenda for today. Those are growth points. The onboarding process and doing fun things out in community, that's unofficial business. Those are growth points. Some of that happened not because I was a co-chair, but because I was saying that at these meetings before I was a co-chair. I was also saying, let's pay community people. Community people were not being paid. And this council said, yeah, let's do that. But it took years to get that into effect. And it is now into effect. So those are some of the things that I have seen happen since I've been here. And there's still more. Lindsay and I have talked recently, and Corey and Michaela and Lynn, and said, what about people that have been here at Ideas and then they leave, you know, their term is over? How are we staying in touch? Like, those are cool community souls. What are we doing to stay in touch with them? And that is still to be developed. So those are some examples of my ideas and things that happened in the last couple of years while I've been here. Thank you for letting me serve in those ways and for being part of the team. Pass.
Yeah, I mean, I would concur with everything Brian is saying. Definitely, I know we're talking about the, positions open, whether it be CAC co-chair, but if that doesn't speak to anybody, again, there's a lot of great things that you can do in your role as a voting member. And also, all of our terms will come to an end. So there's also, things that you can do as a community member, attending the meetings and all of that. So again, just to be mindful of time, I think, Corey will send out the info on the election process, and I mean, you could definitely like open copy me on that. So if people feel like they want to reach out to me directly with any questions about that, the process or the CAC role, which I did prior to this, or the co-chair role, feel free. Also agree with, what Brian said about, things that have been done and then things to still be developed, like working on kind of creating some of that ongoing community. And, I think that'll be something we touch base on a little bit further as well. But in the sake of time, I'll cut myself short, and we are at 1:50, and we can take a little break right now and hop back on at 1:55.
Yeah, so go ahead and you can turn your cameras off or shut your computers or whatever, and we'll see you back at 1:55. Thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I will resume sharing and turn it over to the chairs.
Everybody's getting back. I will turn it over to Jordan and Erica, so we can have some follow-up on our discussion around the Bayard Be Home program.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hi, everyone. This is Jordan with DHS. Yeah, so if you all were at last month's meeting, we invited Erica from our Bayard Be Home program to share their annual summary of all the work they've done in programming and serving clients. And due to time, we kind of had to cut the conversation a little bit short, and I know there were some outstanding questions. So not only will Erica provide a little bit more information, but we'll also come back to those questions that we had for you as council members to better help the program grow and identify those folks in need in our community. So Erica, I'll pass it over to you. As a reminder, we were going to talk a little bit more about some other outcomes, share more about clients and kind of that process and working with them, folks that maybe aren't housed yet, and what kind of services you offer, and you know, share more about share any stories or any more that you have, and then we'll leave it to some questions.
Wonderful, thank you, Jordan. My name is Erica. I am a white middle-aged woman with brown hair, and I'm sitting at a Bayard office space. Thank you all for having me again. I just wanted to talk briefly about a little bit more about Be Home. In response to some of the questions that we received last time. So we had 74 individuals that started the program housed, and all of those folks remain housed with the exception of one person that did experience a period of homelessness, but then was housed again, and that person remains housed. I also wanted just to take this time to talk a little bit about kind of the day-to-day work that my team does to support our participants, and in some cases their households, their families. So there's kind of two different trajectories, right? For folks that enter the program as unhoused, our biggest goal obviously is to support them and their support network, if they have one, in getting housed as quickly as possible. So that looks like casting kind of a wide net. So if folks are, our intake staff will do a coordinated entry assessment, which is a specialized assessment for folks experiencing literal homelessness, meaning staying in the streets, emergency shelter, place not meant for human habitation, etc. And so that opens up the possibility of a housing opportunity through One Home, which is kind of a coordinated entry like placement system, for lack of better terms. And then also during that time, particularly if folks don't have housing vouchers, our navigators are working diligently to support them in applying for any and all housing opportunities, whether that's vouchers, housing lotteries, you name it, anything that really speaks to the client's needs and what's going to be the best fit for them. And even something that they'll consider, right? Because applying doesn't necessarily, it's not the same as like signing a lease. It's just something you're considering. And then for folks that are housed, if they are seeking a different type of setting, then we're looking at, okay, what do they want to remain in their current setting, or are they looking to relocate? And if they're looking to stay in their current setting, sometimes we've done things like rental assistance. We've provided housekeeping. We've provided like individualized to meet individual client needs, which I think that's like a common thing, or something we have the flexibility to do, whether a client is housed or unhoused. One example is we provided a pair of glasses to a caregiver. We've also done things like pay for families' storage unit so they could maintain their belongings, which is really important for folks. And then also all of our clients and their families have access to our mental health counselor if they're interested or in need of either direct mental health services or referrals. But I think the biggest thing that I'm really proud of is that our client services are very much client-centered. So every client creates a housing stability plan with their navigator, or in some cases, you know, maybe a parent or caregiver, especially if the identified client with an IDD is a child. But in any case, everybody creates a housing stability plan, and then that housing stability plan is updated at least every 90 days. But more often if there are significant changes. For example, if somebody goes from one housing setting to another, generally their goals change pretty significantly. So that's, you know, one time where even if we updated it last week, we're gonna look at that again and reflect on where those needs are at. The other piece is regardless of whether folks achieve housing like as a result of our programming or they come to us house, like we're a stability program. So I'm really grateful to have the option if clients want to continue to provide support, even if they are housed, so they can keep that housing. Of course, if for any reason a client or family loses eligibility, meaning they move outside of Denver or they're going through the IDD process and the person is not found to have an IDD, then, you know, at that point we have 90 days to support that family or individual. And as far as stability goes, that's really, again, client defined. Some common things we're looking for when we're looking at like someone being stable in their housing, and like, are they able to pay their rents? Are they do they feel like they're stable? You know, does that household or that individual, like, do they feel like, yes, I'm in a good space, I have my needs met? Do they, one of the items on our housing stability plan is like community connection. So if that can be a really big component for folks to make sure that they feel supported. Do they have, if they need or want services, do they have access to those services? Also, we're able to and have supported folks in, maybe they start out in Denver, but they want to live somewhere else. We supported a family or in relocating outside of Denver, and then the navigator worked with them, you know, for that 90-day window to help them with the services transition. And in terms of timelines in our program, generally speaking, the majority of folks, unless they lose eligibility, for example, moving outside of Denver, as long as we're able to stay in contact with them, the majority of folks have stuck around in our program. So if they self-refer or are referred, as long as we are able to stay in contact with them, they've continued in the program. Although, like I said, there have been some exits as well. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. And then I think there was also a question about outreach. And so absolutely, we're continuing to engage with community partners, both, new folks as well as, continuing to maintain our existing working relationships with a variety of different agencies. We have some really strong relationships that we're continuing with Rocky Mountain Human Services, obviously DHS, but there are many, many others. And then we're also actively working on some marketing materials to be able to provide not only our referral form, but also some flyers that hopefully those will be ready to share soon. But certainly if y'all had additional ideas on community partners, I know last time I was here, there were some really good ideas. Happy to look at those as well.
Thank you, Erica. That was so great. Thank you for kind of telling the story of how individual each case is and how specific your services are. One thing I would love for you to talk about, that we've talked about a lot, is how a lot of your navigator's role is helping clients communicate and advocate to landlords and property management. And you've been able to successfully help clients avoid eviction through that means. And of course, like, you help folks pay rent if that's the risk, but I know you all do so much more in that realm to help people stay housed. If you want to share more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that is like connecting with landlords and property managers is a huge part of our work. Frankly, a bigger piece than I thought it would be. We had a client that we worked together with some partner agencies and connected them with legal support, and they actually avoided an eviction but temporarily lost housing largely because of conflict with property management. But my team and teams from these other partner agencies, and there's legal support as well, were able to support this person in getting housed again. So it's a big thing. I mean, even today it supported a navigator with, with the client meeting and like just talking them through like the importance of that relationship. There's a lot of like education that we work with clients on as well. And just making sure that both my navigators and clients themselves are aware of folks' rights as tenants. We're, referring to different legal partners as if that's necessary. Ideally we don't get to that point, but certainly grateful for community partners that have supported our team and our clients in that way.
Yeah, I know we have a few hands. Just to kind of round that out, I think if any of you are familiar with housing laws and all of that, you will know that evictions can be extremely damaging to a person's ability to access housing. Once it's on your record, the next 7 years, it's going to be very difficult for you to find something that a landlord will accept you for. So that is a huge piece of the work that they're doing to try to reduce the harm, reduce the barriers that folks are experiencing every day. And then I think, Michaela, you were first, and then Michelle.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Erica, for joining us again and sharing all this great information. And thanks, Jordan, for kind of providing that additional context. This is such great conversation. I wanted to note that we are, I think, right at 2:11, just past our allotted time for this discussion, but I don't want to cut this conversation short. Corey, I don't think we had anyone sign up for public comment. Although I do know that you had wanted to talk about our recruitment plan for next year. So I just wanted to maybe suggest a pause and then kind of a plan of action with Corey, Lindsay, and Brian to figure out how we'll structure the rest of our time to make sure that we can engage the council on this programming and also get to the rest of our agenda items.
Yeah, just to confirm, this is Corey speaking. I forgot to mention this at the head of the meeting. Nobody signed up for public comment. Therefore, we do not need to go to a public comment period on the agenda.
This is Jordan. I would just offer, could we maybe have 5 more minutes? I know Michelle has her hand raised, and then take it, like folks can move forward with the agenda after that.
Do we want to do that, or since we don't have public comment, would it be helpful to maybe extend it by 10 minutes with at least, and then we could have the recruitment discussion kind of melt into the public comment time slot, so we're not having to pause and come back. Just something to throw out there.
This is Lindsay. I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, what are you thinking, Jordan and Erica? 10 minutes? Corey?
I'm flexible. Sorry, this is Erica speaking. I'm flexible with whatever folks need.
Yeah,
What
I
are your
think
thoughts, Lindsay? How about 10 minutes? Let's go to maybe 20, 25. Does that sound good?
sure. And if we end early, we can
Okay.
just move
Yeah,
forward.
if it goes
extend
to, and if it goes to like 2:30, that should still be fine.
Okay. Take it away.
Okay, Michelle, you wanna come off mute?
Sure. So this is Michelle speaking, and I just wanted to give some feedback to Erica. Erica, you are such a rock star and a wonderful storyteller. So I would like to suggest that, because you asked, like, how do you market this? How do you tell people? Sister, give you a camera, a video, go tell these stories of people that you are serving. And then, let's figure out where to put all that. But I mean, I think I think that's a thing for you, sister.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. Were there other, and I apologize, Jordan, were there other questions, or do you feel like I sufficiently answered kind of the questions that were lingering from last month?
Yeah, please, if anyone has any more questions, we'll give it a few more seconds or so for anyone to raise their hand. And then after that point, we'll have Corey pull up the slides again with some of those remaining questions to the council.
This is Erica. Would it be helpful if I read Brian's message in the chat?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Brian shared how important it is. The housing work, people with IDD are seldom speaking up about the issues needing addressed. If they're housed, it's working, at least kind of. If they're not housed, it's so hard to hear from them. Thank you, Bayard and Be Home and many community partners. I personally have had the most rugged time with housing for many, many years, yet I don't talk about it, just recently began asking for help. Will take quite a while to get the help, the needed help. Thank you, Brian, for sharing. I just want to say that in the work that we've done, absolutely, so grateful to community partners. We have had, some folks refer themselves or refer family members, folks they're living with. I think one of the things I'm most proud of with this program is that we've had a handful of our clients that have actually referred other folks that they know. And even, folks that aren't housed yet, referring folks that they know. And so I take that as that's the biggest compliment, really, because I take it as a good sign, that we are building trust and doing good things, albeit sometimes slowly. But I'm grateful for the opportunity. Yes, and there's certainly, Brian mentioned there's work to be done educating and supporting property managers. Absolutely. My office location's currently at an apartment building, and I could not agree more. Absolutely, it's important to partner with property management. But yes. Jordan Humphreys, is this a question you were hoping I could answer? I don't know. So Jordan put in the chat, why is it so hard to talk about housing struggles for IDD folks? How can we empower folks to speak up and seek help? I'll say I think this is some of like what my team is trying to do and be a support for our participants as they seek help and be sometimes a source of that support. And I see a hand, Lindsay.
I just wanted to circle back a little bit to Michelle's comment. Maybe I misunderstood, but was she also asking like how do you market your program?
Oh, no, I was saying, this is Michelle speaking. I was saying Erica is such a rock star at telling stories. I was
Right.
giving feedback saying that one of the ways that they could market their program instead of just doing print is to share what their work that they're doing in video or to share the work that they're doing in audio so that our folks who you touch people in different ways. Sometimes it's by reading, sometimes it's by listening, sometimes it's by video. So I was just saying, the sister is sitting on a gold mine with these stories. So just put those stories out there. Because I know personally, this is a personal I statement. I am more impacted by sitting here listening to Erica than I would have been by reading about it.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely got all that part. I just was wondering if part of that was also inquiring about the current marketing, and if not, I was wondering what is the current way that you're reaching out to people.
First, thank you both. Lindsay, I appreciate you seeking that clarification. And thank you again, Michelle, for providing that. So as far as outreach currently, we have been connecting with community partners, and some of that just looks like myself and often members of my team, like reaching out to contacts that either we have or sometimes Jordan or Arnie with Mission Supports has like put us in touch with contacts that they have, and that's been really key. Occasionally, we've also had like other community partners say, hey, you should also reach out to so-and-so, and then, made it like a warm introduction that way. Definitely that's something that we're looking to grow as far as the next steps for the program. And Michelle, I hadn't actually considered the video and the audio piece, and so I think I appreciate that, especially from like an accessibility standpoint as well. Who knows, maybe even if clients are comfortable handing them a microphone, camera, microphone, you name it. So yeah, again, just very grateful. And Lindsay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
This is great, and I think the outreach question is really aligned with some of those slides, Corey, if you wouldn't mind pulling them up, or questions, I mean, on the slides. I think one thing, and I'll speak here for DHS, but we know that there's a lot of folks living with aging caregivers that are housed now, but that risk is always there, and there's not a lot of planning, and that's really scary for a lot of people. And I think Be Home could use a little bit help connecting to those folks. So if you have any ideas of who might be a good contacts, good community partners that Be Home can reach out to. I know there was a lot of great ones from last year or from last meeting, but if anyone else has any ideas, I think that's a really great place to talk about that now, as well as some of these other questions listed on the slide. But we could start there with the outreach. Go ahead, Michaela.
Oh, thanks. That's such a great question, and I'm so looking forward to hearing if the council has any insights into that question about how to reach out to folks who are residing with aging caregivers. I also noted that Jessica's hand was raised a bit earlier, and so I wanted to make sure that Jessica had an opportunity to weigh in on that before we switch topics. Jessica, if you're still wanting to contribute a question or a comment, please do so.
I was just wondering, like for the services that you provide for people that are housed, do they have to be, like in imminent risk of losing housing to access them, or can it be like we see that they might need help because at some point what's going on could be a risk?
This is Erica speaking. Jessica, thank you so much. That's a really great question. And so to answer that question, no, like, of course, you know, we would support somebody that is at imminent risk, providing they meet our eligibility, but also, if the client, family member, navigator notices like, hey, this challenge, for example, if we've identified that there is like conflict between property management and a household, or you know, something like unpaid rent, or I don't know, really anything could, you know, down the line put somebody at risk, then we're certainly going to, as long as it's within our scope of work, we're going to support that household in addressing that need. Because we are a stability program, so I really, whenever we can, I don't want to wait until it's like, I have to do something right this second, or this person or family is going to lose their housing. And that's also something we want to model too. Like, I want our clients to reach out to their navigator if they know they're going to need something in 2 weeks. It's a heck of a lot easier for us to support with that need if we have a little bit of lead time than it is like, oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock on a Friday and I need this thing by Monday. That's, you know, tight turnaround. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And I apologize, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jessica. Thank you.
I see.
Thanks.
I'm not sure whose hand was up first, Lindsay or Michelle.
I think it was Michelle.
Okay. What spaces, organizations should Be Home outreach to connect with more people? The first question on the slide. About their eligible services, such as people with aging caregiver concerns. I wanted to give a suggestion. There is an email group called PADCO. It has about 400 members, and that group is for our IDD community members that are adults, and it's their parents advocating for them. And on that email group, I can assuredly share with you that most of the caregivers are aging, because that is a concern that many of them have raised and continue to raise. So I would say reaching out to the organizers, and Erica, off this group here, I can try to connect you if you aren't already connected. In the most recent time, I haven't seen anything about Be Home being there, so maybe making a presentation to that, or asking to make a presentation to that group. From time to time, they do have presenters. There was just one, and it was related to housing, actually. So you would be right in time, and you're always on time when you're talking about housing for our IDD community members with regard to aging caregivers.
This is Erica. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Lynn. I saw that. And no, I have not. I've heard of Padco before, but I've not engaged with them since Be Home has become a thing. So thank you.
Absolutely. Let's talk off this channel about that.
Yeah, please.
Lindsay, did you have your hand raised?
I did, yeah. This is Lindsay. I was just wondering, it's a pretty broad question, but with people coming to you who are, already at this point of like instability, and have you thought about, what would be some things that maybe like could have been done sooner, or like in terms of maybe if there were to be some outreach done kind of like proactively, that could also be helpful? I know just like I field a lot of housing crisis related questions, and a lot of times it seems like people maybe think that like there's more out there that's readily available for like low income housing or senior or people with disabilities, and there's so much is getting on waiting lists. Is there anything that you're seeing where it's like, well, perhaps like if more people knew about this, or, we're doing this a little bit ahead of time, maybe where some advanced education could be helpful?
Okay, this is Erica. I think I understand your question. So I guess one of the things that comes to mind, like right off the top, is like housing lotteries, for example. They're only open for like such a very short period of time. And I don't know like the math behind it, but it's like that's priority for my navigators to support clients that are interested in those and applying for those. And but it's like 48 hours that they're open, and it's not a guarantee. And like often it's very if there were a housing lottery open today, it could be like a year potentially before somebody that's chosen for that lottery may even get, like if they're chosen, their number could be pulled in a year. And then we've seen even folks that have like their number was pulled from one of those housing lotteries. It can take months before they actually have a voucher in hand that they can use, their navigator can use with them to go and try to find housing. So I think that's big. I also, the aging caregiver piece, like, excited to build that out into the future because, like, of course, aging is like a need, right? But it's just the reality of like life, even for myself, like I'm a disabled person, and I'm fortunate to have some like natural supports. I went out and pursued my own like accessoride application because I'm like, you know what? If my natural supports fall through, I also need like another avenue. That's another example. It took more than 6 months for me to access that service. So I don't know, like I think as proactive as folks can be, it's great. I also recognize that so many of our folks are truly in survival mode. And so they may not, even with support, have the bandwidth to even think about like next steps tomorrow, whatever, even with that support. For example, I was supporting a team member that was on the phone with a client today, and like, it's just struggling even with like making decisions for right now today. Which is okay. Like, we're here for it. We're here to help.
Thank you so much. This is such a fruitful conversation. And I appreciate everyone's vulnerability. I see we're past the window of time we held for this. So I'm thinking, unless anyone has any more burning questions, I'll pass it back to Corey and the co-chairs. But thank you so much, Erica, for your time, and thanks again for coming back. And I'll speak for you by saying that if anyone would like to connect with her in the future, I know she would be happy to talk with you all. So please feel empowered to do that. And thank you.
Okay, if the chairs don't mind, I can take it from here and get right to the next agenda item. So I just wanted to cover recruitment plans for next year really quick. I wanted to invite council member involvement in that recruitment. Plan to have recruitment starting in earnest from February until April, with planning happening before then. We do need to recruit 3 new council members. We have an open seat right now. We're gonna have 2 members roll off, so that gets us to 3 that we need to fill for. We will have a broad distribution again. We'll put stuff out on social media. That's planned always. It is public. It's always, we want to make sure the public knows that they can apply to this and that they get the applications in their hand. However, we want our outreach to also be intentional and targeted to underrepresented communities. We'll have about 5 council districts that don't have any representation on the council itself. We also, I need a little bit more data is one thing about what our current demographic makeup is on the council to kind of determine where we are in terms of diversity. But I do know right now that we don't have representatives of folks who don't use English as a primary language, who might be foreign born. We do have pretty ample representation of white American born English speaking adults. And so people that can maybe offer some diverse experiences from outside those groups would be the targets. And the way that we're hoping to do that is through relationship building. So last year, I went to a lot of different recreation centers, libraries, community hubs like cafes and food access points, things like that, and put up flyers, talk to staff there, talk to service providers who can maybe refer folks and let people know that we were having these applications. This time around, we're going to target individuals specifically. And so that is a place that I'd like to invite council member. I didn't eat any food, Michelle. It wasn't much of a party for me. It was, these are more places like Whittier Cafe or Sun Valley Kitchen, things like that, where local community members would come and receive food for themselves. I didn't get anything except a coffee maybe, but yeah, so we're hoping to like really kind of target people, representatives of the council districts that we don't have, and then other representatives of community hubs, different community leaders that we could really sit down with, make a strong connection to, then get a referral for a member that can really bring that diversity into the council. We only have 3 spots, and so we do want to make sure that the public knows about this, but casting a wide net, I don't think will be as effective this time around. So that's the general plan. I want to invite council members to participate in planning, in meeting and identifying community leaders, in interviewing, and just like we did last year, in defining diversity. We want to make sure that we talk about what diversity means for this council, what representation means for our community. And I would like to also make sure I gain information from each of you as to what demographics we currently have representation for on this council. So I'll be resending out our demographics and diversity survey. If people could please fill that out, it would be very helpful, not only to determine where we're at now, but then where we get to be once we actually recruit people. At this point, we have a few minutes left. I want to invite a little bit of discussion for any thoughts, questions, or feedback regarding the plans for 2025, just that general overview that I gave, and what people hope to see engagement look like for council members. And to answer your question there, Michelle, we made sure that folks at Atlantis were on our stakeholder list. They are always, but I didn't go and meet with them in person. So perhaps they could be invited. But yeah, so I want to open up just a few minutes of discussion now for that, maybe no more than 5. And then we can move on to planning December events and stuff. I want to remind people as folks pop off that we don't have a public meeting scheduled for December. Just keep that in mind. If we need one, I can put one on there, but it's gonna be tough.
I think people
during
might be
holiday season.
referring to the get together.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, cool. But yeah, Lindsay, you got your hand up, so why don't you kick?
I almost forgot my question. Would you mention what districts are missing and like you'll share the number and it won't really mean anything. So if you could maybe explain a little bit about like what area that is, areas.
Yeah, you'll have to just give me a second to scroll through my like different tabs and stuff here to find it. So I want to make sure I say the right ones.
Sorry, this is Michaela. Is it 1, 2, 3, and 9? Does that sound right?
It is 1, 2, 3, and 5, and 9.
Okay.
Because a certain current council member who represents 5 will no longer be on the council next year. So 5 will be, yeah.
I'm like, I don't. Where do I live? I don't, obviously don't know my own district offhand. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah, I'm not trying to give away where people live or anything like that. But yes. So council districts 1, 2, 3, 5, and 9, and I would need to pull up the map to determine and be able to tell you effectively which ones those specifically are.
I can handle that, Corey, if that'd be helpful.
They're only-
I
That
have a
would be
printout right on my
helpful.
desk.
Yeah.
So 1 is the very far northwest corner of Denver. 3 is where the Castro building is on the kind of middle north section. 2 is the far southwest corner of Denver. That kind of includes like the Harvey Park area and is that kind of little odd section that goes kind of into past Sheridan there around Littleton and Lakewood. And then 5 is kind of middle east. It includes like Windsor Gardens and I think it's Alameda that kind of runs through there all the way far east Alameda. I'm getting a thumbs up from Beth. And then 9 is, I believe it's the kind of includes the 5 Points district. It's kind of north central. And so I think something critical to know about that is with 1, 2, 3, and 9, we're looking at what's referred to as the inverted L of Denver. So it looks like the long part of the L on the bottom, it's kind of like upside down, and then the short part of the L on the top. And that's areas of Denver that have been marginalized throughout history due to redlining and to families of color historically not being allowed to live in those areas. And so I think it's really important. We really want to make sure that we are gathering representation from those areas of Denver to make sure that we're welcoming all lived experiences into this council to really inform a robust recommendations that are meeting the needs of all the community and really leaning into all of you to kind of figure out how do we accomplish that and what are the relationships that we need to make to ensure that we're doing that.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Lindsay?
Yeah, I thought you had said 2 districts were not represented, but it sounds like 5.
Yeah, five of them don't have current representation. And so just keep in mind, that means like it's guaranteed that two still won't, because we only have 3 spots. So that'll be an ongoing effort to make sure that we recruit as many council districts as we can. But with 11 seats and 11 districts, that can sometimes be tricky. It all depends on who applies and things like that. So, yep, go ahead. Sorry.
It could be even more than that. That would still be missing, right? Because, I mean, ostensibly, I mean, you would not like, if you had 2 good candidates and they both happen to be like in District 3.
Yeah.
I mean, to what degree would that factor in to the decision-making process?
Oh, you mean like weighted scoring, like how we would determine?
Yeah, because it would be kind of tricky, if there's,
Yeah.
three great candidates and, if one is from if they're all from like both are in District 2 and, well, I guess you need 3 candidates, but you know what I mean? If there's too many in one.
Yeah, I gotcha. I know what you mean. I haven't determined the scoring and how it would change for next year compared to this year. So all of that's still up in the air. And I would love to hear, especially in that conversation about, what the council defines as diversity and stuff like that. I'd love to hear from the council how they would like that to be structured. But the way that I could see it now would be that, if somebody is from one of those districts that we don't know doesn't have representation, then they'd be scored pretty evenly, and we'd look at other factors that might set them apart, potentially, depending on how the council feels we want to do that. But Brian, I see your hand up. I'll leave it to you.
I wanted to speak on a personal thing, but speak to the council just as a community member and a voting member here. May I do that?
Sure, go ahead.
Don't play identity politics. I'm not saying that to any one individual. I'm not saying that to any one entity here now. I'm saying that I've caught myself getting all caught up in identity politics. I've been a project manager where we had surveys, we had funders, we had to report outcomes. When you get the money, if you get the money, what are you going to do with it? And how will you know that you've had an impact? And that involves scoring LGBTQ or what's your first language or whatever. So I've played that side of it at the programmatic end, and I'm speaking, so that voice is covered. So I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to say, don't play identity politics, man. People are people. You could easily look at me and go, oh, white speaking, white speaking, English speaking, first language, white male. We don't need that. And yet I've come here, I've played the game. Y'all have said I'm valuable. I'm just saying that there's more out there. And so these diversity metrics, something to be aware of, and also community, man. Pass.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, and then to speak to that a little bit, I think that's great, and I think it's a worthwhile point to remember and identify for everybody. When I think of diversity and demographic and identity, all those things are important for us to know in terms of, is the Denver community and the communities within Denver, are they getting a fair representation? Are their voices being heard? Or are we, not addressing, not filling the room, and therefore not hearing the problems, expressions, the information from the various communities that make up Denver? And that's what we want to use this information for, of just making sure that everybody who uses IDD services is having a fair and equal voice in determining how those services are funded by us and the things that we have control over. And so that's what we try to make sure that we do. I see. Before I get to the hands, I would like to. There's a few. So there's a few things in the chat, and there's also a Q&A. And we are running out of time. So there's a few things here. So I just want to mention that I saw that Michelle asked when I send the next email, would I mind including that info? If you're referring to like the recruitment info, I can give a high level informational thing, but I don't have a document necessarily to send to everybody. I'm still working on all of that. And so I guess I'd like maybe Michelle, if you could clarify what what you specifically are requesting with the information there, I would appreciate that, just so that I send what you want.
Sure, this is Michelle Corey. I was just saying, and I think Michaela got it. 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever ones were missing, and those areas. That's all.
Yeah, I can give that info. Yeah. And then Jessica had asked about aging, and if that's a demographic marker or a definition of diversity that you'd like to invite, Jessica, then that'd be great. We'll have more conversations about this whole plan in the coming in January. So just keep that in mind. Michaela, go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you off, Corey. Please go ahead. I can jump in later.
Okay, well, just to respond to a few things. I hadn't seen some of these Q&As, but just want to make sure that people know that during these public meetings, the public comment period has to be reserved by requesting public comment either through our email or through our form. And so just want to make sure I say that and make sure that anybody who's attending, if they were trying to talk to us, trying to engage with us, please use those avenues to do that. We'll still have those for next year and everything. In terms of applying, we'll make sure that applications are notified to the public when we're ready to do that next year. Just making that clear. Go ahead, Michaela.
Yeah, and were you able to circle back with Jessica on the aging question too? I don't want to take over
Yeah.
that. Okay.
I'll invite Jessica if you had any more questions or if I misinterpreted your question in a chat to come off mute if you'd like.
No, I was just pointing that out as a possible underrepresented group. Because like they're underrepresented, period. But they're there.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks so much, Jessica. That is definitely something that I think is important to look at. And Corey, I wanted to respond to Brian's comment, and I think Corey, I really appreciated your thoughts on that. Instead of thinking about looking at this kind of intentional recruitment as playing into identity politics, I think of something that you said, Brian, once that really resonated with me, and that was a metaphor that you made about kind of asking, coming into a meeting and someone asking folks, did you make it into the room all right? And sure, the folks that made it there could tell you if they had any struggles and what those were, but you'll never have the opportunity to hear from the folks that never even made it to the room. And I think what we're trying to do here is acknowledge the fact that people's identities give them different access to and challenges in finding the room that is access to IDD services or other services that might help them meet their basic needs or live a full and meaningful life in community. And so we don't want those folks to not be able to find the advisory council room because we're not doing a good job of reaching out to them. And so if we have folks who maybe, because of the way that, the communities that they identify with or the languages they speak or the countries they came from are not represented on the council, we won't know how to best prioritize our funding to make sure we're meeting those needs. And I think that's really what we're trying to accomplish. So really appreciate all the thought partnership here. And thank you all for, your openness and your willingness to kind of engage with us there.
Great. Well, thank you all. I appreciate this input. Like I said, we will talk more about this when we have a little bit more time. But I wanted to make sure I gave an update and let you know that there is a plan, and that part of that plan is to draw on each of you to really intentionally participate and engage and define different parts of the plan, as well as help and meet with people and get people into this room. Okay. Lindsay, go ahead. That was that.
Yeah, so I was gonna try to ask with some of this, kind of capturing data on like where you're outreaching and all of that. Is there any maybe value in kind of also noting like attendance at meetings? Like, would that be a way to try to also capture it? Because I guess what I'm ultimately getting at is it's super important to obviously make those connections and try to, connect with people who might not be aware of these opportunities to participate. And at the same time, that might not also mean that, everybody has the ability or capacity or desire to also be a full council member. But, maybe making sure that there's also that, accessibility so that people know how to like attend. I think sometimes we don't always, like we put a lot of focus on, positions and chairs and CAC for, obvious reasons, but hopefully that we're also looking at, making sure people know that they can participate by attending. I mean, you don't have to be a voting member to, connect.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is Corey speaking. This is a great point, Lindsay. And honestly, y'all are probably due for an update on the different outreach that I have done in various different places, but I've gone to a lot of places and kind of advertised not just IDEAS, but also the advisory council, which includes like the Dragon Boat Festival and a resource fair over at Laerdon and other places. So I should probably bring all that in, but that's something that we definitely want to keep an eye on too, is not just inviting people to come and be a council member, but also inviting people to come and submit public comment or even just tune in. While also too, in addition to that, keeping in touch with all of our former council members to make sure that they're involved and they're sharing information or invited to come back and stuff. So Beth and Lindsay, as you roll off, we want you to continue to be involved, please, so that, when recruitment does happen again or any other events happen again, you can share them with your networks and people that you might know need to reserve a space in the room and come and share their experiences and things like that. Because every former council member has a lot to add still. Just because their terms have ended doesn't mean we don't want to keep you guys involved. We want all of it, everybody to be involved. And this is our primary way to engage with the community. So we want to make sure that it's effective and it reaches all of Denver's communities, because Denver is not just one place, it's a community made of different communities. So yeah, but more to come on that. If you have current thoughts, feedback about the past recruitment process for those who went through it or helped out with it, as well as anything coming up, by all means, send me that information and I'll start including it right away. That's the planning for that's already underway. We're already getting going on a lot of things, and I want to invite your involvement through every part of it. So just be ready for more questions from me about it and more invitations. It's 2:55. So I'm going to cut myself off here to move to the next agenda item, which is forecasting our next meeting. So let me share real quick to get this up in front of everybody's faces. But there's 2 dates I want people to know of coming up. I have not scheduled January's meeting yet, but I think for the sake of reliability, I will schedule it for the final Tuesday in January. We can discuss there what kind of schedule you want for the yearly schedule. If that doesn't work for people now, please reach out to me, email me directly, and let me know that you would like a different date. But right now, we'll plan for last Tuesday of January. The other important thing to note is that there is a town hall coming up next week. So our friends over at HRCP, the Division of Disability Rights, they're having a town hall. We'll be presenting at it. I would love for a few council members to come. I sent that out a little while ago, and I haven't heard any back from anybody yet. So if people are able and willing to come, we're presenting at 4:15. If you have a few minutes just to talk about the council, who we are, what we do, that would be great. I'd love for you to be there. I could present on it, but it's always more fun when an actual, community member who does the work comes and talks about it. So please, if you're available, if you want to come do that. I'll give you the link and the information. And then on December 14th, that is when we're having our in-person get together at Brewability. So starting at 1, come as you please, leave as you please. It is non-mandatory, not formal business. I know Jordan Humphreys, I think, popped off, but we're not conducting any formal business there. So what we are doing is we're getting together in community, we're breaking bread with each other, we're having fun, being silly, saying thank you and goodbye to Lindsay and Beth if they are able to come. I do not know who is and who isn't yet, but all the great things, just wrapping up the year with a final chance to get together and do something cool at a cool place. So yeah, that's all that I've got.
Hey, Corey, this is Brian B. Would you repeat that date? I think you said next week, town hall.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just restarted the slide deck and then ended the slide deck, I guess. But yeah, that is, the town hall is December 3rd, 4 o'clock. It is virtual. So for those who are interested in attending, let me know. I'll send you the link. And then the next date after that is December 14th. That is in person at Brewability, starting at 1.
Can I say something? This is Beth.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to thank everybody for being so supportive of me. I've had a lot of transitions going on in the time that I've been on this committee and everything, and I just appreciate each and every one of you and your uniqueness, and I always feel welcomed, and I'm grateful for it.
Gonna miss you, Beth.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you.
Beth
I
and
mean,
Lindsay.
sorry.
Sorry.
Thanks, Beth, for everything. It's been a while. I can't believe we started at the same time here and signing off at the same time. Yeah, I guess I will put it to a motion to adjourn unless anybody has anything else.
I second that motion. Oh.
People want to adjourn, feel free to type your vote in the chat box. Yes, no, abstain. For 5 yeses. Michelle said no. So I think we'll go ahead and adjourn anyway. With that, meeting adjourned at 3 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Celebrate with gratitude. Bye.
Stay safe. Bye-bye now.